to say thank you to the Dutch consulate for supporting this programming. Chantal and Marijke are here among 4 Dutch guests we have. Martin Baptiste sitting in the front in the green. Will be speaking both tomorrow and Friday night, presenting his work on Friday night. His work is gorgeous, and I recommend returning for that. We'll also have a really interesting interdisciplinary panel discussion tomorrow with Dutch and local Dutch designers, which I think should be interesting. But tonight, we have Marijke Cobbenhagen.
Yeah.
And Chantal Hendriksen. That's, I won't even go there. Well, that's like a common name, so we'll just say accent. Anyway, you see from the photo, they conducted, and you might have seen if you knew to look in the nave, that results of the workshop we conducted this weekend. We'll have a chance to look at that after the lecture. But I personally really excited to see grad and undergrad students come together and work with you over the weekend. We don't get to see that often enough, and it looks like the results are just beautiful. So I'm going to hand it over to John. I just want to say in general, I'm super excited about this. This is like the most fun part of my job, to bring our design programs together to welcome guests like these who can really reveal whole other sort of worlds of design to us. So I'm glad that so many of you are here to benefit. And I'm going to hand it over to John Sweda. Actually, that might be my last thank you. John has been really integral this year, as in the past, to making this happen. So John Sweda, my colleague in graphic design, will be introducing Chantal and
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I want to thank three more people. I think we should give a big hand to Taylor Franklin and Jeff Hunt for designing the graphic identity and the poster and all that stuff. And also want to thank Vicky for all the work she's been doing to make this happen. All the little things that nobody notices, Vicky's doing all that work. So, yeah. So I'm really pleased to introduce tonight's speakers after being huge fans of their work for a really long time. Marijke Cobbenhagen and Chantal Hendriksen. Hey, I said that pretty well. Their names are really hard to say in a row. Are the Amsterdam design studio, Cobbenhagen Hendriksen. Marijke and Chantal first met in 2004 as classmates at the Werkplaats Typography, a small graduate graphic design program in Arnhem, a small city in the east of Holland. This program is especially interesting in that students at the Werkplaats don't get assignments, but are instead creating real work for actual commissioners and are self-generating their own independent projects. Funny enough, according to the dates on your website, you say that you founded your studio in 2004 while you were still in school. Yeah?
That's true.
Yeah. And it strikes me that the spirit of experimentation and openness of a student seems to have continued in your work to this day. From iconic cultural work from such institutions as the Museum of Contemporary Art Haarlem, to the Netherlands Architecture Institute, to creating a set of 26 silkscreen posters called the ABC Primer Rainbow Series, which are a remix of sketches, ideas, and projects and proposals, which, by the way, are going to be up for another three months?
Actually, we don't really know.
A few months at the New Black, a really great gallery space nearby in the neighborhood. To a new self-initiated contemporary art publication called You Are Cordially Invited, which they call a two-dimensional exhibition space for contemporary art. Their work is both highly conceptual but formally inventive at the same time, which is quite a rare and a rare feat and quite an accomplishment. Marijke and Chantal strike me as a perfectly matched duo, making quite incredible work in the competitive and ever-changing context of Dutch graphic design. When asked, why are you working together, this is a little interview that's on their website. They say, if we weren't working together, the work of Chantal would probably turn out quite unclear and vague, less detailed and not even finished at all. And Marijke's work would be less renewing, stiff, and probably rigid. This sounds corny, but we do complete each other in the design process. Please help me welcome Cobbenhagen Hendriksen.
Well, thank you, John, for that really nice introduction and all the compliments. We feel really flattered. And actually, we're very happy to be here. We also want to thank, CCA, obviously, and the Dutch consulate. It's been a really crazy week, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about ourselves, I think, and our work.
This was taken at the workshop we had over the weekend. We really enjoyed the workshop, and also how hard, it was amazing how hard all the students were working, and the result is really worth it. So really take a look afterwards to check them out.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Let's see what's up there. So, my name is Marijke Cobbenhagen.
And my name is Chantal Hendriksen.
So, I went to study in Utrecht School of the Arts, and Chantal in the...
At the Rietveld Academy in Amsterdam.
So, as John said, we met at the Werkplaats Typografie, and from then on, we continued as Cobbenhagen Hendriksen. Very international name. We've been working together now for almost 10 years. And
the commissioners we have are mostly in the cultural field. It is most museums for contemporary art, artists, photographers, and also art schools. This is a bit of work that's we are piling up all the things we have been doing the last years.
Because this all resulted in the ABC Primer Rainbow Series, as John mentioned.
You see an overview. And now we want, for this lecture, we want to go through them one by one, and because a lot of you saw them also yesterday at the New Black, and want to explain a bit more what's behind every poster, and how we wanted to mix our portfolio, the work with what we've been doing, and to combine it with our design philosophy. Like for every letter in the alphabet, we decided to combine it with a word, and for that word we came up with the sentences what would be meaningful to our work, like you could say our design philosophy. And from that on, we thought, like, with which work can we explain it or show it, or are there features in the work for the commissioners we can use separately in a poster, and what would that say about us as designers, and the relationship with the commissioner, because it's also, like, when you're working with a commissioner, it's always really working together. That's for us also very important, that it's not, that you combine forces to get to the best results.
So
let's start with the A then. Huh?
And our A is for awareness, to not only see things as they are, but also see them as we are. And we can tell a little bit about the identity we've been designing for the Haarlem, a small contemporary art museum in Haarlem. We've been working for them since 2007. And basically their identity exists out of a cut in any possible typeface. And it refers to the building that they're in, because it's also built out of several buildings, and that actually is now worked through in the typefaces. And this gives us the freedom to actually...
Get to play around, because we decided that the identity of the museum is already in the smallest feature, a letter form. We can play around with the invitations and posters to make new compositions every time there's an exhibition. So at least you would see every time there's an exhibition you get a totally new invitation, looking fresh. And if you look into it, you'll always see
Sorry.
You'll always notice that it's part of the Haarlem, because there's this cut into the typeface.
So that brings us to the B for beauty. If the practical solution is not appealing, we know it's wrong. And then there's this French...
That's also because sometimes in the design process tend to be very hard, always, but always be like that, otherwise you're not making something beautiful. So for us that's really important, that you have to find the balance between the process, the content, and the aesthetics of it.
C is for commitment, diving in with total devotion and enthusiasm. That's what we always do. I don't know another way to do it.
You have to, otherwise the result won't be good, and you don't get to the core of things. And this was for a workshop we did with photography students in the south of the Netherlands, and they had to make. We are actually in the beginning we were asked to only design the publication for the photography students as a commissioned job. But then we thought if there are still students and for, dealing with the photography, they had to make an exhibition and a newspaper, how we could combine it, that they were also learning from it. So we turned it into a workshop where we gave the students all this giant sheet of paper, a set of stickers for that they all had the same typeface, and some
tape
to have a regular corner review. It's actually similar what we did in the workshop over the weekend, only this is turned out into a newspaper and an exhibition.
D is for detail, the elaboration of the final appearance.
This was also a very interesting process for us, because we were asked to make the identity for the land art contemporary. They are situated in the east of the Netherlands, and started all around this
work by Robert Smithson, Broken Circle Spiral Hill.
They wanted to celebrate that it is in the Netherlands for 40 years. They tried to renovate it so it looks really sharp again. And from this on, they want to, with young artists, they want to make new works in the environment in the east of the Netherlands. And we were asked to design the identity, and we thought of, because land art is always outside, so we thought, like, how could we do something with a typeface but has that feeling in it? So we, if you look at, for example, the O, you have a regular serif O, and we turned it like a sun. That's why the drawing we have on the left.
Yeah.
If it would be in a Sunday or turning around all day. So we mixed the letters. If you compare now in this poster the T and the T underneath it, it are the two options.
There's
so
also actually next to each other,
yeah,
right there.
We collaborated with Radim Pesko, a really great type designer from the Czech Republic, working now from Amsterdam. And together with him, we we researched the letter shapes and turned it into a working typeface, for which we can play around for the invitations. That was really fast.
Sorry.
Not finished.
Want to go
okay.
back?
It's okay.
We go to the E for
Fine.
enjoyment, because without it we can't get genuine results. And yeah.
An important philosophy.
Yeah, exactly. And we give a little bit more insight in the making of this whole poster series, because we all silkscreen printed them ourselves in The Hague, where we teach. And we had a lot of fun doing it. We
mixed the colors ourselves. Here you see what we used. Because we're not printing, we didn't start with the A, we just started maybe with an M and then go to the B or backwards. So we had to keep on track how our rainbow was turning out. So every time we were mixing, we would place this on our record sheet.
And this was all Facebook.
Because that's the place to share your enjoyment.
And it ended with a small exhibition. We should have actually added the new black post. Oh well. Go back a little bit. F is for form. That's what it all comes down to. Because concept is nice, but how you translate it into form really matters. There's like 100 ways to translate a concept into a form. And this is an identity we designed for Kasteel Keukenhof. It's an old castle near the famous Keukenhof. I don't know if you know that. You can.
Where the flower shows are in the Netherlands.
Yeah, you can see a lot of tulips.
And they have a great castle. And in I think 2 or maybe 3 years ago, they started to have contemporary art exhibitions in the castle without changing the interior of the castle. So all the old paintings, furniture, everything will stay there, and just in the middle they will place they will hang and put the art up.
And this identity is based on a grid, how a castle and the garden of a castle is built with the certain view lines,
So in
very
the poster
symmetrical.
in the poster we put 2 images of Versailles, like our main inspiration source, with the view lines.
And we play around with those view lines.
And it's nice to tell. So this one was the first catalog we designed, and because if you walk around the exhibition in the castle, there's so much to see, because there's the stuff that's already there, and the new pieces of art. And you really have to find your way. It's too much to see in once, and we didn't feel like making a coffee table book out of, and isolating the art and trying to find the perfect angle, because also some corridors are very small, or you're suddenly in the kitchen, or you're in the attic. So if you're visiting, you're visiting the strangest places of the castle. So we had the feeling you had to get the atmosphere more than a real reproduction of the works of art. So that's why we used the view lines to cut the images as well.
Yeah, so you have the same experience going through the book as if you would be walking through the castle. G is for growth. It makes us bigger, except not maybe me.
We used this for the book design we did for the Jan van Eyck Academy in Maastricht. We used an accolade system, what you see on the page, to go from
to refer
through the book, because it was a very complicated project that they want to have published in the book. So we thought of this accolade system. Only the problem is, if you look into the accolades, if you make them for longer lines, they will also get wider and thicker, and you won't have the space in the book, and it's very ugly. So we designed according to the amount of lines in our page layout. We designed 1 accolade for 2 lines, for 3 lines. So we draw all these accolades ourselves, so that they just had the perfect shape. And the funny that now, and afterwards, we could really play around and build to use them more ornamental. And that's what we did we built a Christmas tree for our Christmas poster out of it.
And this was another Christmas poster from the year before.
Also a tree.
Also a tree.
Was a nice theme.
H is for honesty, what we hope our work exudes.
Sometimes it's hard if you have a commissioner and they also have trouble defining what they really want from you, or what the project is about. You have to search together to the core of the content. But for us, you will always notice when a commissioner wants to show something else, or make it more beautiful, or emphasize on something they are not. And we just really hate faking things. So we will also sometimes say shit in is shit out.
Yeah, that's the really famous CISO method, which is shit in, shit out.
We can't make the content better. We don't want to put a layer on top to make it look better. It just the aesthetics has to come from the context, what it's already in there.
And I is for idiosyncrasy. It creates distinctive results. And this refers to a beautiful ornamental typeface made by Sjoerd Hendrik de Roos, a Dutch type designer. And he made a set of initials that we use for the birth announcements of our kids. But not our kids together. We each have 2 kids. J is for justification, means to an end. And this is the very, very first assignment me and Chantal did together in 2004. Should we tell something about this?
I can shortly explain. It was we were asked, there was an intervention and performance show in
Istanbul.
held in Istanbul. And we were asked afterwards to make a catalog out of it, and they had it all.
They filmed it.
Yeah, they filmed it, and they were all streamed on the internet. So there was already a lot of material if you want to dive into one project. So for us, it was very difficult how we could relate in this catalog, because all the material was already published in a way. So we
and also it was kind of bad material because it was all just basically filmed, so very low resolution. And we decided to connect these all these interventions that they did in the city by cutting the images out and focusing more on the reactions of the public. Like, crap, sorry. Oops.
Because it was dealing with these interventions were also kind of dealing with the society in Istanbul, so they were not always received very well. So
here's the police.
How they filmed the project, if you saw them live stream, it was really focusing on the artwork, and of course there were always a few shots of the reaction of the audience, and we emphasized on the reaction of the audience and took those screenshots to build the catalog with. And on the right page, we would on every page repeat the title of the project. On the left page, repeat the title of the project until the next project turned up.
K is for needing, transforming the very first idea into a defined plan. And this poster we actually made for an assignment that we were still working on when we made this poster. Actually we used this poster also to research if this could be a solution for the project that we were doing. It was nice. It was made completely by hand with strokes of cardboard. And in the end, we didn't use it anymore, but it turned into a really great poster. Oh, that went really quick. L is for linguistics. Language and typography are inextricable.
This is an identity for a small farm in the north of the Netherlands. There were two architects bought a burned down farm in the north of the Netherlands, and they wanted to build a new place where you could work or cooperate with people or have workshops.
You could go in retreat there.
Yeah, in retreat for a week and write a book or do some design work. That's for all disciplines. And they really redone the place, very beautiful. And they asked us to make a small system-wise identity, or like a toolbox. And we were like, it's so difficult to find a toolbox. How can we play with it? And we narrowed it down to show, to make it into sticker sheets, with one showing the trees or the green and the clouds or the environment. And there are sticker sheets with words describing the content of the place. And they were giving away the stickers, so you can tag at home in your agenda where you were going, or just on your books, and playing around with it.
M is for moment, when content, context and aesthetics coalesce. Actually, this poster is not in our series anymore because we replaced it. Because we have a rule that one in is one out, and this one is out. So we made a new one connecting to a project we did for a photographer, Jan van den Burg. And he has a friend in Iran, and he works for a Dutch newspaper there. And he gets sent these Dutch newspapers in Iran. But before it hits his doormat, somebody there opens up his newspapers, gets out a pair of scissors and sticker sheets, and covers up whatever he thinks might be a little inappropriate. And it's a beautiful collection of very strange combination of like hard labor to do this. And actually it focuses even more on what's covered. So we made a publication for him and made a new M. And again,
we combined it because at the same moment we were asked to send in a poster for a poster festival in Breda in the Netherlands. But we also sometimes have a hard time when somebody asks us, can you do your trick? Can you make a poster for our festival? And it's not a real commission. You have to do
They gave it
something-
theme.
they gave it, greed is in,
Uh,
out.
No, greed is out, empathy is in, and we kind of turned it around that their empathy is our greed or something like that, because we could use that poster to do another one for ourselves.
So we made, because our poster series was a bit smaller than the size we had to send to the festival, so we used the borders for them, and the middle was our greediness to silkscreen our own poster for the series.
So they got like 3 and we got the rest. N is for narrowing down, getting to the core of things. Well, we already talked about this whole core thing. Very important for us. And this poster refers to a book we did for an architectural book, a prize. The
Students' Prize.
Yeah, the best graduation projects of 2011. And for this, we combined 26 linear typefaces.
To find the core of architecture in a way, or symbolize it through typography, using all fonts designed with the same principles, and then combine all these similar A's and similar B's to make the titles.
Oh, we'll show a little bit more of this book later. Hold on. Oops. O is for office supplies, which is arousal for our minds. We just really, really love office supplies.
Everywhere we go, we have to get in an office supply shop, because there are always these nice stickers and things going
Like
on.
beautiful sheet.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And we use
It's like a finish. It's finished. You could just...
use that one.
Yeah.
So graphic design can be so simple as well.
Yeah, it can be. P is for puzzle, where it all falls into place. This
refers also to the identity of the Haarlem, where we now use the leftover forms when what we cut out, and we emphasize it on this poster by making typography out of that. And on top there's a transparent layer showing the letter forms. You can see it a bit on the silk screen.
Q is for quality, what we want.
This is quashed quality. That's due to we've been working for the Netherlands Media Art Institute already for a few years, doing their
Also since
identity.
2007.
Yeah, but I think already 2 years ago in the Netherlands they announced this horrible culture cuts, where a lot of institutes can't survive anymore, and NIMC was one of the ones who had to go. So it was not there anymore, and we changed also when they heard they were just going to they're not going to survive. Then we changed also their identity a bit, made it more in a more
combative matters.
Yeah, and also more only on typography, so it became a bit more raw. And this we could really use with the cross, what was marked for the culture cut, so we combined the two. And these are a few examples of the last things we did for them. And the last exhibition was called Yes, We Are Open.
And then they closed down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sad. R is for renewing, our quest.
Because we've talked about all other things that you have to get to the core of a commissioned job, or you have to find how you can deal with the content. But in the end, it's also for us really important that for us also try to find again all the time new things, that it's a new job is better than the other one, or we find something new interesting, that for us it's also something we're trying out or finding the right way, and it's not always works out well. So for example, in this proposal for the identity for the Jan van Eyck Academy, we proposed an over-the-top identity, because they were asking something they didn't want. They said to us, maybe you can think and research a new identity for us. And they had already an identity designed by Min and Sulky. They live now in Korea. And it was actually a very good identity, very simple, very straightforward. And they really liked it, but they thought, yeah, we should do something new. Let's ask Chantal and Marijke to make a proposal. But we felt that they didn't want to change. So to find out in the first meeting where they were heading, because it was such a unclear communication in the beginning, we made this over-the-top presentation to show what they did not want, to really make sure that they actually didn't want to change their identity. So after
you could also see the face of the director. He would like start smiling, and then he would like frown a bit, like, and then he asked us afterwards, "Are you serious?" Like, yeah, we're serious. And then we said, but maybe you actually want to ask Min and Silky to like add a few things to what's already there. And it was like, thank you, thank you for this.
We're doing that, and it's also maybe getting back to the age of honesty. We can't, if we feel in such a situation that it's wrong to make a new identity just for making a new identity.
Or to continue in the same style as Min and Silky were already doing. We thought it would also be dishonest if we would kind of copy that and like do their trick.
That wouldn't be renewing for us. So then we thought, okay, we're gonna just give this assignment back somehow.
Yeah. S is for satisfaction, a feeling we pursue. This is the inside of the architectural book that we showed before, and here you see how we mixed the linear typefaces, because no letter in the titles is the same typeface.
And for the grid, because we had to deal with a lot of different content, because it was an all different input by these students. So I think every
they
one and a
differed
half
a lot in quality and in aesthetics, and it was just actually a mess. So we had to clean that up. So we made a very rigid grid. We divided each page in 4, and that's it. And then
the imagery and the text should always be in that square, using only the square. You could of course go over 2, but it was always related to the square. And how the book is printed, it's also the paper is you can see through a bit, so you will feel through the whole book. You feel this very rigid and harsh grid.
And then on the inside of the book, we kind of explain the grid. And if you shift it around, it's an S.
So that poster was made fast.
Yeah. T is for translation, where content finds its righteous form.
In the Netherlands, there's a free magazine on contemporary art describing...
It's called Tubelight.
Oh yeah,
Hence the Tubelight.
And they write small reviews on exhibitions around the Netherlands, Belgium and Germany. So it's more like you could pick a Tubelight up and see what's on now and how it's received already, so that you get more of an idea what's the exhibition about. We've been designing this for a few years. And for the cover, we asked our colleague in the studio, photographer Petra Stavast, if she could always give us an image for the cover playing with a Tubelight. So she's, of course, as a photographer, traveling a lot and finding all these Tubelights all over the world. Because when she was on the travel, she would always say, oh, that's a nice Tubelight, I have to take it for Chantal and Marijke. Then she would come back and say, oh, yeah, that's a good one. And we never had color, but we don't have that one here. And finally, she came back from China and said, oh, it's such a pity Tubelight is only printed in black and white, because I have this really beautiful arrangement of Tubelights in all sorts of colors. And then I said, then we're lucky, we're just asked to make one color version. So that was really nice coincidence.
And you can find it on our website.
Yeah.
U is for understanding, to achieve thorough comprehension. Yeah. Should we tell about the project?
Now that was because we already said in the beginning that we mostly work for commissioners dealing with contemporary art or in the cultural field. But at a certain point, one guy came in the studio asking us to show him some work of ours to him, and he was studying
to become a dentist. And he makes this what you call it again?
An almanac
An
for
almanac.
the yearbook for the study group.
Yeah, for the what's it called again? Oh, I don't know the English word all of a sudden. And it was like a sorority, something like that. They make a yearbook, and then he asked us to make it, and we were like, "Are you sure you want?"
Do you know what kind of work we make? Because he also brought 2 almanacs from the year before, and they were printed with really ugly, full-colored, falling apart. Only pictures,
drunk people in the pictures.
Skiing, having like
Red
and
faces.
Really bad written text. How great the party was and what they did the next day, and we're like, no, yeah. Are you sure that we are not doing these kind of jobs? This is ridiculous.
But then he said we have a theme, and the theme is composition, and I want to make a connection with art in Amsterdam. And then we said, oh, okay, we can kind of relate to that. So, so we got, because of the theme composition, we got inspired by this image in the right top corner.
You see Hendrik Berlouwi with his work, and we thought it was so simple and clear way of combining composition. It also had to do with the building. They had just had in a new building in the Zuidas in Amsterdam. Designed with a beautiful facade with stripes.
Yeah, you can see it in the right bottom corner a little bit.
So based on that and inspired by Hendrik Berlouwi, he's a Russian constructivist, we played around like how could we overshadow for once the content. So we had to make such a...
Because we have this rule, this shit in, shit out thing. So we were like, this is never going to be good. But
we can't do these kind of jobs.
But design is in a way so heavily in there because everything goes from light to heavy and back again. And it just waves through the whole book. And even the image section with all the drunken people, we convinced them that they would look better in black and white. And that... And then we arranged them from starting with 1 person on the image, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So it's not about these stupid images anymore. It becomes about composition again. So there, it was like a perfect circle. So that worked out.
And the cover, where you see now on the right, was a reinterpretation of the map of Amsterdam, where the building of the dentist was in the middle, and there you could follow the lines and see where all the cultural spots in Amsterdam are.
V is for variety. That's our playground. And we're skipping that. W is for why not? Trying things beyond reason. That's always a very good rule to keep in mind.
This post is actually also, this one is the only one we didn't design ourselves. This is, we asked Cornelius Kwabeck, a young artist from Germany, who's making very intriguing paintings, and we were asked to design his book. And since he was telling us that he was always working in bodies of work, if we would have a solo show, everything before and after would kind of become one series. So he had probably at that time 6 of those series. So you could really make it into 6 different books. So we decided to make it into one and wrap every section to separate it from the other solo exhibition. And to wrap, because it is an artist publication, it's also a new solo show in a way. So we asked if there was another way of painting for the book, and then we said it would be nice if that would be with typography.
Could you paint for us the titles of your shows?
And it was kind of a bold question because we were sitting in Amsterdam and he was in Düsseldorf, so we didn't see each other so much in real. So we had to do a lot by email and over the phone. So we thought, how are we going to explain this? We have to try it out ourselves first. Then make a dummy, fold it around, and then take pictures of it to send it over to Cornelius. But it was also a bit of a dangerous area to do something, draw something out yourself, and suggesting that the artist would do something like that. So we're a bit.
And also the proposal we made was actually very similar to what he ended up doing, because we proposed with this ink, black ink. We made these pages, really roughly painted there, and he actually got inspired, and he did exactly the same in a way. And then we went over to a studio in Düsseldorf, and we were laying these on the floor to see what would make nice combinations next to each other. And we could even say, could you make one a little bit more heavy? And he said, yeah, sure. And then it was there, and then it got printed and turned into a really nice book.
So on the left you see how how it's wrapped in the sections.
So these are actually closed when you buy it.
And you tear them open on the side, and it's really thin packing and wrapping paper, and then in the middle the works are revealed.
X is for context, creating a relevant frame of reference. This is an identity we designed for collection people, and they advise people about their art collections. And what else?
They don't even exist anymore. It was a start-up, and they never started up really in the end. So that's why it's also a bit vague for us to explain a bit more about their identity. But it was what we liked, because they were trying to also combine artists with critics and photographers to have this, that it would be more about more disciplines. And that's why the identity was based on displaying with artists, writers, critics, photographers.
Famous ones, yeah. Okay, sorry.
But it never got executed.
No. Y is for vocabulary, to use a consistent tone of voice throughout.
And this also refers to the first part of the identity we made for the Netherlands Media Art Institute. What we did when we gave when we got the assignment to make an identity dealing with media art, it was kind of hard for us to relate to it, because we can relate much easier to photography or contemporary art. But when we were not so into media art, so we had to figure it out. What is media art? And it took a while. And there was, every time we print, we researched something, tried something out, finding a form to put this media art in. And then we looked at it and it was rubbish. So we threw it in our studio, and then after a whole summer, there was this whole pile of reference material growing in the middle of our studio. We were stressed, panicking, like we can't get to the core of media art. It's horrible because it's all the time changing. When suddenly there's the internet and all media art is something else, and then there's this, and it goes so fast that we can't keep up. If you make an identity now, tomorrow it will be old-fashioned. We can't deal with this. And then when we looked at the pile, we thought, okay, the pile
is the identity.
And there were all these kind of images of where we tried, every time we Googled elements from media art to find how that would look. And then we decided, okay, that's what we're going to do. With every exhibition, there's always a theme. There are more artists working around that same theme. So we're going to extract from that theme one collection of images, what you can Google exactly at that moment. Because, of course, if you would Google something now, it would look differently. So we just thought, okay, it's just a question. We could just go simply Google the themes, and that's the invitations. And it worked out quite well, because there was a nice collection of growing ideas on media art. So if they would still exist, you could have seen in time that also by looking at the invitations, how media art is evolving in time, and what techniques are changing what media art means nowadays.
For the next lecture, I'm going to put some images of that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I kind of forgot. Z is for size. It matters. This refers to a stamp we designed.
The smallest thing we ever designed.
And it was, it's crazy. If you do a stamp design in Holland, you have to be able to explain every little design decision that you make.
You have to almost write an essay on every detail.
Exactly. So the theme was the Vereniging Rembrandt, which is, what's a vereniging in English? Well,
Yeah.
and they give money to museums to help them purchase artworks. And they existed 125 years, and to celebrate that, they wanted to have a stamp. So what we did, ja, dat kan jij weten.
Yeah, what we did, because it was 125 years of Vereniging Rembrandt, and there are a lot of important and famous works bought
With the support
of the Vereniging. So we thought of it can also be if you support something, you just sign, and you just all sign in to say that this is a good thing. So we thought maybe we should collect all these autographs of all these
famous
artists and put them on the stamp. But so we did. That's what you see there. But it was at a certain point not enough for the Dutch stamp company. They said it's too flat and it just looks like a sheet of autographs. And yeah, for us that is already amazing. But then we had to think of something else, something extra. And then at a certain point, we decided to turn that there would be something. A curl would arise from these stamps, turning the sheet around, revealing these. How would you call these?
Like a vignette?
Yeah, like a vignette, like a roll of vignettes, which you can tear off and put on something and mark it as this is good art, this is supported by the Vereniging, so that really it all adds up. And in between there were some, you could see some works which were supported with the Vereniging.
But then it was very difficult to get the curl right, because if we would make it in a computer, it just looked so computerized, and we didn't like that feeling. So what we did, we made this scale model, like that big, and the stamp is in the end like that big, with the actual curl on it, and photographed the scale model.
And then we had to send the photo to the TNT, and they would say, oh no, Rembrandt is not visible perfectly. That autograph is not so good. Okay, then we had
go
to print.
Back to the scale model.
Yeah, we print a new scale model, make a new one, take another, and this, I think this was going on for about a month.
So it was like this whole do it again theme that the students experienced.
Then the studio was all filled with these kind of curls, and I could do it really fast at a certain point, like redoing this curl again and again. And because it's maybe also nice to tell that they also wanted at a certain point that the Rembrandt autograph would be in the center of the stamp, so that because that's their signature, and then that the most important artists would be around that, and then going from that to the outsides.
Very detailed.
And in the end, it's also the vignettes are printed in gold.
Yeah. And then for the poster, we made a new interpretation, and we redid this curl on
very large,
on an A0 size.
And the poster itself refers backwards to the whole series, how we photographed the series laying on this palette, and that's this image we silk screened again as the Z.
And then there they are in the new black. And then there's another project actually that we want to tell you about. John just mentioned it briefly, but we're actually launching a new magazine on contemporary art next month.
But maybe it's also good to tell, because you've now seen a bit of our work, and it's dealing a lot with contemporary art. We've also been working on some magazines in the Netherlands dealing with contemporary art. We always had the feeling there was missing something content-wise what we felt should get more importance. Like if for an art magazine they would write an article about a show or another exhibition, but they will always call the gallery and said, can we have this one clear shot of the artwork? So very straightforward, cut around from the wall, and you would see them appear in every magazine. It's always this PR image, and at a certain point you can't see anymore what's on the image because you reckon, oh, that's that show again, or that image. So that's such a pity, since contemporary art is so much about looking at things and enjoying the beauty of the works, that that was all missing. The context is missing. Now, how can we get back this context into a contemporary art magazine?
So we decided to
Do it ourselves.
yeah, so we came up with the idea to make a magazine that we consider a two-dimensional exhibition space in which we appoint curators to curate a group show, and then, yeah, we can show you, we'll go through it.
It's called You Are Cordially Invited because we also want to have a certain openness towards a very closed art world, of art market, which is kind of harsh to get in. If you sometimes if you go to a gallery, you feel awkward. Can I come in? Is it open? Why does the gallerist look so just why is she not interacting with us? Why so? Maybe I just don't go. And also with these kind of openings, you feel a bit stiff. Am I the right person? I'm not the one who's buying all this art, so maybe I'm not so interested for the gallery. So you have always this awkward feeling, and we thought we want to avoid that. We want to have a much more openness towards the contemporary art. So that's why we came up with the title "You're Cordially Invited," to welcome more people to join and appreciate contemporary art, and also explain it maybe in a more simpler, but not in a simpler way, without losing the high quality of the art.
And for this project, we're collaborating with a lot of people. And for the cover, we asked a fashion designer, a Dutch fashion designer, Antoine Peters, whose work is always very conceptual, to design something especially for the cover. Well, since the magazine's not there yet, we're going to show you.
It just came in today. We got the first images from the photo shoot we had last week before we came to San Francisco.
So he came up with the idea to make a dress that is also the floor of a gallery space. So playing with the white cube and its floor and turning it into to a dress. So yeah, we're curious how
the end result will be finally.
Yeah. Also, we want to.
Maybe it's good to tell first that since we're saying it is about contemporary art, and this openness of the title, we were also thinking it's only so one. We want to add more disciplines to it, like what you just saw, like with fashion, because if you're in the art academy, then you can also study fashion. We studied graphic design, but you're always surrounded with fine art and all these disciplines. And all these disciplines have the same basis or same interest or same inspiration sources as contemporary art. And why can't we combine it? And also how the aesthetics are in fashion magazines, that's not done in art magazines. So we really want to connect these disciplines also in that sense, also in how the imagery is expressed in the magazine. So we thought to combine fashion into the art world.
So we did a collaboration with with fashion photographers, Severa Fraam, very young German photographers, and they came up with a photo shoot that is actually a pre-enactment of the opening of the show that's actually in the magazine.
Here you see two images of the fashion, the clothes they wanted for the shoot. In the middle you see an inspiration, how they imagined the scene, really referring to openings and previews in the art world.
This is them working. It's really nice. Also, I have to say that these pages are still sketch pages, because you can see also that these images are not the final images that we're going to use in the magazine. There's still a lot of retouching. And then we get to the art fair, the group show. We asked two curators, you didn't want to use that word, Alexander Meiju and Jaring Dursprit, and they selected 25 galleries all over the world to be presented in our art fair.
And it was it's in a way also about for maybe looking into trends. It's also that they have a really good nose for what's interesting right now in contemporary art to guide you through, because we we know how to make a book with contemporary art. We are not so good in judging when the quality of contemporary art. We needed guidance in it, so we asked Jan and Alexander to help us out with it, and they're very enthusiastic to do this because also their work, both in the art world, but they also themselves are young art collectors. So that's such a nice combination. So for them, it was more or less they could shop around the world in galleries to see what's still available, what can you buy, and how would that relate to each other? What is their perfect selection?
And in the design, we refer to the aesthetics of an art fair, because there's always these cubicles that are being built, and actually every gallery looks exactly the same. It's all about these walls.
There are no ceilings, there are no floors. It's just this flatness of the structure. But also the structure is very nice because it becomes kind of a labyrinth. You can get lost in it.
And in the magazine, we're rebuilding an art fair.
And also turning it a bit around, because since it is two-dimensional, we can use the identity of the gallery itself. So their space, we can emphasize. They don't have to put the work in these ugly walls, but they can just show the aesthetics of their space as well. So we now connect the floors from one gallery to the other to make one long labyrinth as our art fair. And in between, these kind of images pop up, the fashion pops up to get more of a social feeling to it, because looking at art and enjoying art is also so much a social thing. So that was the combination in the shoot we were looking for.
And then we asked artist collective Résumé show to contribute to the solo show. They have this wonderful project called Project Probe, which is an exhibition space on scale that they actually built in their own studio. And they invite artists there to make an exhibition. And this exhibition only exists online. And for the artists, it's really great because it's
a test lab.
Yeah,
they
it's
can
a test.
Because it's a scale-sized exhibition model. They can just try out how their artwork will relate to the environment, how they can place it, size it, and play with this, test around with these ideas. And for us, because Corny Nijman, one of the three of Résumé show, works at our studio as well as a graphic designer. And we were, when we were thinking about this magazine or figuring out the concept behind it and talking about this group show and opposite to the solo show, because we also want next to this group show to narrow it down. What does space and context mean for one artist? How can they play with the work, their own portfolio in one environment? And that's similar to what Probe is providing for artists to play with that same in those same manners, only then in a scale model. So it's really, for us, their contribution is the blueprint for the solo show. And then we're showing a few
additions. And that'll be in between the art fair, so the art fair will continue after that. And then we have a collaboration with the Apple Art Center. It's a famous art institute in Amsterdam, and they have two educational programs, the curatorial program and the gallerist program. And the gallerist program just actually, they started in last October, and they have 9 participants that are gonna make a booth at the Young Art Fair Lieste in Basel. And we asked them if they could contribute by showing their process.
Yeah, giving insight in what we've been seeing. The art fair was the theme of this first issue. But how do they relate to building up? What kind of decisions do you make if you're preparing for an art fair? Like, which artist are you choosing for which reasons? Is it only to sell this work or make a personal statement? Or we are kind of interested in how that would work. So we asked them if they could, in their process now towards Lieste, if they could show and explain a bit more of their decision process. And in the contribution consists out of a questionnaire or an inquiry they're having with their chosen artist.
And this is actually where Lieste always takes place, in this old brewery in Basel, Switzerland, the Wartec building. And we will hopefully also launch there, have a party, hopefully. So this is basically the whole content of the magazine, and you're actually the first ones, the first group of people to've ever seen this.
It's going to be 128 pages, and it's international, so we will only write in English. And for the first issue, our print run will be 5,000 copies. And we're going to spread them also internationally. So probably you can buy them in San Francisco within 2 months.
Or you could pre-order your copy by sending us an email. That's it. Thank you for your attention. Any questions? Overwhelmed?
I have a question. So we went from the ABC Timer series to this project quite quickly without much sort of introduction. How did you arrive at? I mean, it seems like kind of a big deal to start your own publication, or was it? I guess my question is do you see that as a continuation of the other work that you do, or is this really a departure?
It's kind of all the leftover pieces in a way, and all the things that we kept thinking, oh, this could be better. Like if we just, our hands started to itch. We had so many ideas of how we would picture an art magazine, and so then we basically thought that we better do it ourselves then. But it is kind of a big deal, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I can imagine that it's kind of a quick
But it's not
gap.
unprecedented, right? I mean, aside from the poster series, you've also done books. I mean, you've also done projects without clients, let's say.
No, not so much actually. No.
Okay.
No, so
I think that's the recession kicking in. No, it's also, yeah, but also because the recession, and also now in the Netherlands with the cultural cuts, and that there are all the institutes who had to give up their budgets were really like, oh shit, I don't have money anymore, I can't do anything, and we're like also a bit sick of that
attitude.
Is that, but you can do so. There's still we have a great country. There's a lot of good art education. There are a lot of internationally very good artists situated in the Netherlands. So you can turn this around and just show that the quality, because the government was talking that it was not such a nice atmosphere how they talked about the arts. So that you can just
they became the underdogs, or the how do you say that?
Yeah, and we thought if we show how good art is, then just talk about enjoyment and show it, rather than go home and cry that the whole situation sucks. That doesn't help us. And we think also younger generations are more interested in this mixing of disciplines, looking differently at contemporary art. It's all based so much on analyzing and so much writing going on, and we're not that kind of reader, so we are just visual people, so we thought we would just want to enjoy good imagery, explaining art, helping you to look at art, and reducing the amount of text. So with the art fair, there's also, the images are very big, and the captions will be just guiding you through. So just explaining a bit, maybe also art historically wise, but it can also just be a nice comment on the work, or why you should get this in your home, or in what kind of home it would be looking the best. You can have so it will guide you through more lightly without making the art less value.
And also, they say that captions are the best read parts of magazines. So, very important. Yeah, John?
Can you talk a little bit about the context of where you work? I think that's always important to talk about. I think every year it's...
What do you mean with context?
Well, like, for instance, you started your studio in basically as students in school, and you transition straight from being students to having all these great projects. And I think, what is the structure? I mean, I know what it is, but I'm just, maybe it's nice to share it with students.
Yeah, for us it's so logical to do it this way. So I don't even know what to tell about it because if I can show you maybe a picture of where we work, that could maybe also help.
And we work mostly with the two of us. We do have interns, but not too much because
maybe once a year we have interns. But everything kind of came natural. But also this one very important thing that makes it possible to start your own studio. What we talked about before is that. When we graduated in the Netherlands, we still had this stipend that you could get, and you would ask the government to give you money to start your own design studio.
You can apply.
You can apply for it, and that just gives you the space and time to work for not so many clients in the beginning and grow into that.
Judge your portfolio and
also work for free in the beginning because. Yeah.
Like, for example, the identity of the Hallen was one of the first big identities we're doing, and we could really use the time to just work on the identity without the amount, the fee we were getting to design it was not enough the work we are putting into it, and that was the nice system in the Netherlands that the work we are doing. Trying to be this renewing and spending much more time on a commission than you can charge is nice because you get really nice results with it. It's worth it. But that was good that you can apply for these kinds of stipends in the Netherlands.
But not anymore.
Now only 30
people
can
right?
apply.
Yeah, or we'll get it.
Yeah, we'll get it.
So we were really lucky. So that made it actually possible. Yeah.
Do you think that's going to change sort of the culture of design a lot in the next few years? Just because I think that was a really big part of why you guys can continue this sort of experimental work that you begin with as students maybe, and you can.
It is possible that it will influence the way graphic designers will work with a commissioner, that they will be less secure about their own ideas, so that the work itself will tend to go towards the wishes of a commissioner rather than the identity of the designer and their reason, because the designer knows how you can be renewing, what forms
you
are
will probably
interesting.
take less risks in the design process. Yeah, and you also see a lot more pitches all of a sudden, like pitching for projects. That's also new. But I can also imagine that designers would find this balance with really commercial commissioners and more the cultural ones or the self-initiated projects. I could also imagine something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you balance that for yourself now? Doing really experimental work for smaller arts clients who aren't going to have.
Yeah, we're a little bit scared. Basically.
We just go for it.
Yeah, we just go. We try not to think about it too much because it is kind of frightening, but in the end, we still really believe in the work we do, and what we said, we dive in our
we
projects.
hope
And
the projects we already did is also are clear enough that the quality we're trying to maintain, so that it will also be that if commissioners will come to us, that it's clear what kind of expectations there are. So in that sense, we're also we are lucky that we continue on this level. And also all the commissioners we've been working with the last years. We also, there are a few you have a good relationship with, or we worked with before. We can now really work together for the magazine, because also our network had been growing in the art and culture world, and it's so nice that we can use this energy, and also that a lot of people are in between jobs, since there are so many cuts, that they have time to collaborate with us on this amazing magazine.
Yeah, we called them the floating population. We can harvest. It's like this. Together we're one. We see into each other's minds.
Yeah, but there was a nice anecdote that there was one intern around, and he just at a certain point asked to us, "Did you just design something now? Did I miss that?"
Because our conversations will be like, you know, that typeface that we just saw there. Oh, you mean the one with the
And then we do,
oh,
we
then
do,
we
and then, we do it. Okay, when we
Okay,
get
let's
back
do
to
it.
the studio, that's finished. Okay, then we have time for the next thing. And then nobody would understand it, and for us it's so clear. It's like, we have a picture, we know what to do.
So that's how we work together.
I think maybe because we shared this studio with with another photographer and a graphic designer, sometimes maybe we see them with
Like headphones.
Headphones, because we are just...
We just don't shut up. Also. Yeah?
You have a section there on website design. I'm wondering how your work translates digitally.
You go click on that. That the commissioner, they see our website, that they know
That they
we
think,
do
oh, they do also
the
website design. Okay.
But that's not true in the end. But we
do some websites, but it's not our expertise.
So we
we're honest
collaborate,
about that.
with more the technical.
Yeah, I'm really not going to go there.
No, we're not going to show.
You can do that in your own time. Yeah, want to see another picture? Anyone else?
So maybe we can also say, but like the web for us, the printed matter is so important to us. Like the quality of the paper, the detail of the binding, how the ink is treated on the paper. We just also take so much time in this process, like how the grid is of one image compared to another, how we can play with it, what kind of colors we're using, where we get the ink from. We always would go to the printer to have a look, change things. So for us, this tactile quality makes the project realized in the most perfect way. So also with the magazine, people ask us, why are you starting a magazine on contemporary art? Are you insane? Like the art world is not going so well. Magazines are dying. And then we think, no, but we want to emphasize on this quality. Like most magazines are printed not on offsets. They're printed in a lower resolution. And we're going to print this magazine really on high resolution, so the images will be really beautifully on the page. And for us, that's just so much that you can just take it home, enjoy the paper, have it in your bookshelf, get back to it another year, just have those books around you. And with websites, we do. That's just too practical, probably. We don't.
And it's
have
always
such a good
and it's
connection.
never finished.
Yeah,
and
that's also
you
horrible
cannot
about
touch
websites.
it.
Yeah. You always keep on changing things.
But it might change now with the touchscreen thing. You can touch it. No, we're never gonna go there.
We'll ask someone.
Yeah, we'll collaborate with Catalog Tree. Yeah. Yeah? A beer, maybe?
Yeah.